Hi, and welcome to Mouthpiece and Reed Setup. Today I'm going to show you how to connect the mouthpiece and the reed for both the clarinet and the saxophone. Both instruments will require cork grease, so we're going to go ahead and start with this piece. Uncap the cork grease, turn the little adjuster screw until a small amount of cork grease is sticking out at the top, and set it aside. Next, I'm going to grab my clarinet mouthpiece and my cork grease. I'm going to apply a small amount of grease to the cork, and using my two fingers here, I'm going to rub it into the entire cork. It's important that we don't use too much, as we're going to be doing this every day. I clean my hand off on a paper towel, grab my barrel, and slowly twist and wiggle the barrel into place on the mouthpiece. This gives me a nice little handle to hold on to while I'm working. Go ahead and set that aside when you're finished. For saxophones, we're going to grab the neck. We're going to do the same application of cork grease, slightly more grease since there's more cork. We're going to rub it in. And on the saxophone, we're going to take those same two greasy fingers and very lightly hit the tenon just a little bit. We never want to apply grease directly to the tenon, as it will be too much grease, cause the saxophone to malfunction. Then I'm going to grab my mouthpiece, slowly twist it on, and remove the cap. Let me go back to the clarinet mouthpiece now. I take my reed, and I put it in my mouth. Using my two free hands now, I loosen my ligature screws. A couple turns may be required to get an appropriate gap between the two pieces of the ligature. Then once my ligature moves freely up and down, in my non-dominant hand, I place the ligature, looking at the screws and at the mouthpiece hole. Place my thumb firmly on the lower of the two screws and practice sliding it up and down. The other half of the move is that I take my index finger and I place it on the back of the ligature. When I slide it up, I also push the ligature forward, creating a little gap right in between the mouthpiece and the ligature. This is to allow me to hold the reed with the other hand and place the butt of the reed in between the mouthpiece and the ligature easily. It's very important that I don't touch the tip of the reed, as it is very fragile. The flat surface of the reed is against the flat part of the mouthpiece. The reed does not go down in the mouthpiece hole. It sits flat along the mouthpiece. Using my two-finger ligature maneuvering move, I'm going to go ahead and slide that up and out, placing the reed underneath, and sliding the ligature back down into place. Once it's in place, the reed's held on there nice and firmly. Now I can adjust and straighten the reed. I push my ligature back up to loosen the reed around a little bit, slide it down so that only a tiny amount of black mouthpiece is showing above the reed. I check to make sure the tip is straight, but I also check to make sure the bottom of the reed is straight on the mouthpiece as well. Then I slide the ligature down firmly below the U in the wood. Some mouthpieces like this one will have a line on them. You must be at least at or below the line if your mouthpiece has one. Once I'm sure my ligature is nice and straight, I give my ligature screws a couple turns until they are snug, not overly tight, just snug. And my mouthpiece is all ready to play. I'm going to set that down and show the saxophones now. On the saxophone, we do the same process. Remove the reed, placing it in the mouth to moisten while we prepare the rest of the instrument. With my free hand, I loosen my ligature screws until I have a sizable gap and a little freedom. Remove the reed from my mouth. Using that same two-finger motion, thumb on the lower screw sliding up and down, other index finger pushing forward to create a little gap there. I slide the reed in between the ligature and the mouthpiece and slide the ligature down into place. In this case, my screws weren't quite loose enough to get the ligature well below the U in the wood or the line. Now that everything's held together, I lined it up nice and carefully, making sure the bottom is straight, sides are straight, and the tip is almost nearly even with the top of the mouthpiece. Then I tighten the ligature screws. We're all set to play.